Welcome back, to the show. It's Too Much with
Shey
and Becca. Welcome back to the show, guys. I know last week you saw us in person, but now we back virtually, but it's okay because the content is still the content.
Period. I do have to say, before we even get why Rebecca always gets scared when I say something.
I just don't know what you're gonna say. Like, wow,
okay, girl. I mean, I'm not an out of pocket type of person, so I don't even know why you scared for. There's nothing to be scared. As always, thank you guys so much for supporting. If this is your first time clicking on our videos, I just want to say we appreciate you. Every like, every comment, every share, like, we greatly appreciate it. And if you are a reoccurring viewer, pause this video right now and check if you are subscribed, because as an avid YouTube viewer, sometimes I think I'm subscribed to people, but I'm not. So just hit pause, check if you're subscribed. We're happy that you're supporting. And yeah, we're excited for this episode. There's lots to talk about. You're on mute, Buki.
I just realized I was on mute. But yeah, honestly, there is a lot to talk about. But as always, we get into our weekly rundown. So let's get into that. So before we get into all the tea, the mess, and the junk, okay?
Yep.
Let's get into our weekly rundown. What's happening? Wow.
So I've started the last 2 weeks, or at least last week I did. So
yes, it's okay. I don't mind going first. So let me see. Let's check. As you know, I always got my little notes ready to talk about my week. Because honestly, I feel like I've been chilling this week. Nothing too crazy has happened. Mm-hmm. Oh, actually. So now you know how there's always like people are like, oh, like you got 5 senses, right?
Yeah.
Right? So that's hearing, seeing, touch, all the other stuff.
Yes.
I was like, I feel like people have, it's like there's 6 senses. And the only reason why we never mentioned the 6th one is because a lot of people lack it. And the 6th sense that people lack, thank you. Because the amount of times I sit there, I'm like, did you actively think of that? Or like, did you just like, think from your behind? Like, is your brain in your stomach or your behind? Because it's definitely not in your head. Because it's just like, there's sometimes I look at people, I'm like, there's no way you thought that this was the statement to give.
Well, that's why people say common sense ain't common.
Oh, hey, baby, it's not. Like, I don't know if you gotta put that in some like strawberries and feed it to people. I don't know what it is. I don't know how if we could sit there and give people all the stuff that they need for iron and all this other stuff, we need to be able to implement common into like a balanced diet for people, because there's no way people just be walking around like this on purpose for free.
Unfortunately, yes, that is a fact.
Also, I will say, Sheyla, are you a 9 and 2? Not a 9 and 2, a 10 and 2 driver?
I don't know what that is.
You don't know what a 10 and 2 driver is?
No, that's why I said I don't know what it is.
10 and 2?
Oh, no, I vary. I'm not driving like this.
See, my thing is, I feel like if I see somebody who automatically drives at 10 and 2, in my brain,
I think you can't drive.
Thank you.
Or at least like you're starting off, it's like you're getting your permit, because I feel like that is kind of how they teach you. But like once you're a seasoned driver, you're not like this. The only time I will say that like I do be like that is if it's like snowing heavy hard and I'm just like so scared, or if there's like a big truck next to me and I need to ensure that I'm like, on track. But regularly, no.
Right. For like stability and stuff like that, I'll be a nice 10 and 2 when it's snowing, when it's raining, when I'm passing by a big truck. If I'm in the left lane, I'm telling you this right now, baby, I'm not on no 10 and 2. If anything, I'm on 3. Like, I'm holding with one.
Yeah, no, it varies.
And it's like, my thing is, if you are a 10 and 2 driver, or if your neck and if your body stiff and your neck moving like the steering wheel, you do not need to be in the left lane. That is right lane behavior. Learn the rules of the lanes. Like, please. We could save a lot of car accidents. And I know people are like, well, I'm not running late, you're running late. It's not that I'm running late. It's I got places to be, people to see, and I don't need to be on the road for a long period of time.
I will say, you are not the best driver. So I don't know if I would be taking advice from Becca.
Let me ask the people this, right? What do you think qualifies somebody as a good driver and a bad driver? To me, if you ask me what qualifies somebody as a bad driver, I will tell you, if you have never been in a car accident and if you have never been through all the extra stuff, you are automatically a great driver.
Just because you don't get caught doesn't mean that you're not doing bad. Like, you know what I mean?
But is speeding bad?
Whatever. We have a lot to talk about today, so we can't dwell on this.
I also want to say the last thing before we continue. Hold up. Where'd it go? No, I found it. Okay. So if y'all are wondering why I got my Haitian flags in my hair, I got my Haitian flag right here. It's because on Sunday, May 18th, is Haitian Flag Day. If you know a Haitian, say what's up to a Haitian, but don't say sac passe, learn something else. You know what I'm saying? Like,
literally.
I'm so happy to be Haitian. I love being Haitian 100%, thoroughbred through and through. My mama and my daddy made this. Okay.
We love that. If you know anything about Caribbeans, is they're very prideful. And no matter what part of the Caribbean you're from, you gonna know when you step inside, oh, I'm from XYZ. So shout out to all my Haitians out there.
Hey, shout out to y'all, because can't nobody do it like us. The country was the first to revolutionize against, the people trying to hold us captive and do whatever they wanted to do. But baby, we did it. So shout out to my ancestors. Thank you to my parents for coming together to allow me to be this Haitian beauty that I am. And yeah, like I said, if you know a Haitian, make sure you say what's up, how you doing. Don't say just sac passe, learn something else for me, please, baby. Okay.
So we love that. For my weekly rundown, so like we said, last week was Mother's Day. So again, shout out to all the mothers. And I celebrated Mother's Day a day before, because if you actually celebrate a holiday the day of, it just be crazy outside. Okay. The wait time is insane. And I was just like, you know what? Let's go out on Saturday. So I went to Olive Garden, and I don't really eat out. I don't like to eat out. That's just not how I was raised, whatever. But we went to Olive Garden, and girl, I tried this new thing they had, a new menu item. I even wrote it down in my notes. It was that good. So if you go to Olive Garden, it's called stuffed chicken marsala. I might be mispronouncing it, but it was bussin'. And then for dessert,
you're correct. It is marsala.
Okay, thank you, girl. And then for dessert, I had a chocolate lasagna, and it was good. It was like a chocolate cake.
Okay, I was about to say, what makes it the lasagna?
Because it had layers to it. You know how they want to be like different, but I was like, okay, Olive Garden. Because to be honest, I usually only eat pasta from Olive Garden. I didn't even know they had chicken. Like what? Anyways, that was fire. Number 2, I finally listened to Coco Jones' debut album. Honestly, she does have some bangers there. So if you're big on R&B music, I suggest you listen to the album. I believe she's like going on like maybe not a big tour, but I call it the Coco Jones NBA team, which we will get to, but her man said he going on tour, honey. So
yeah, he been on social media playing the music. He be in the car too. Okay, that's how you support, baby.
So if you don't know, we're talking about Donovan Mitchell, who is the star of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and unfortunately, as we will discuss,
my husband's at y'all. I just wanted to say that.
Girl, she got no husband. We will get husbands, but just not right at this moment.
What you mean?
That's bad luck. You better take that off, girl. That's rule number 1 about when you want to get married. So anyways, shout out to Coco Jones. I have a few songs added to my playlist, period. And my last point that I want to make, well, actually, no, I have 2 more points. One is we need to find a middle ground when it comes to job interviews, because I do not think it should really be illegal to have to go through 6 different rounds of interviews to get denied. Unless you are applying for like a leadership role or to be a doctor that's about to perform open heart surgery. I don't even know if the president got to go through 6 rounds of interviews. I think it is absolutely ridiculous, because you are wasting everybody's time. And also, like, once a HR person or a recruiter knows that you're not going to get the job, because they know that. They know. Stop leading people on. I think that is super disrespectful and disingenuous, because 6 rounds of interviews for a no is just insanity. And I was seeing a lot of people like on Twitter, they were like, it took what, 2 days for the Pope to be elected, but y'all have people for entry level roles that you want them to interview with everybody and their mother. Like, let us be for real. It's a waste of.
My thing is, right, and I feel like a lot of us do know this, and if you don't know this, let me help put you on. There's a lot of times too where these companies, because it's a part of the law, they have to interview people for these roles. They will just interview people for these roles, that they already have somebody in the company who they already want to push up to that. And Shayla's talking about from current experience. I remember from past experiences where I remember I went through 5 interviews. I'm thinking I'm set. The lady was like, I really like you. And mind you, they will feed you these lies sometimes. She's like, I really like you. I want to get you to the next step. I don't know what's the next step at the 5, but okay. And then didn't get the position, and then I see that they just promoted somebody who was already working in the company for 3 years. So it's just like,
which I understand, whatever, but I mean, I appreciate my situation that I wasn't ghosted, because some people ghost you and that is even more triggering. But also, it's just like, I prefer the law is that you just don't post it. If you already know you're gonna hire somebody for a role, or we need to put different types of guardrails, because whatever guardrails are currently in place are trash. And the last thing I want to say is Aja Wilson. She dropped her signature shoe. I don't know if it was last week or the other week, but I really wanted to get the pearl and the blue. And unfortunately, I didn't get it, because I was seeing people that did buy the shoe, but they got wrong sizing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait until they are available in person so I can make sure I get the right shoe size. But shout out to Aja Wilson. Love her down. I will be rooting for the New York Liberty, so I can't root for her too hard. But I love her as the individual, the person, and I love that she has her own shoes and she's thriving. We love.
I will say I was on the same train as Sheyla. I was like, oh my God, because I love, y'all know, if y'all ain't know, but my favorite color is pink, even though I wear black a lot. It's one of my favorite colors, right? Yeah. So I was like, I set an alarm. I set a notification on the sneakers app and everything for the pink sneakers. I'm like, bet. Alarm went off at 9:40. Cool. The sneakers drop at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I click, mind you, my thing's already set to my size. All I got to do is click, purchase.
You got to be quicker.
Sold out in that same second. And this is why I also want to mention, y'all resellers, what his dad say, y'all will burn, or y'all will, remember what he said, Rock Nation, y'all will.
Oh, you will crumble.
Yes, right. Resellers, you will crumble, because there is no reason why I was going to pay $110 for a pair of sneakers, and y'all sitting there trying to add taxes and some, and I gotta pay $270.
Girl, yeah, that's insane. I'm definitely waiting until I can get it in person, and they have to restock. Like, what?
That's my thing is, like, y'all thought I was about to pay your rent. You thought I was about to pay your daycare services.
Well, people do that. People will pay the hefty amount, but period. That's that on that. We hope you guys had a great week. Comment down below. The same way we babble about our week, we would love to hear about your week. If anything crazy happened, leave it in the comments. And we always got something to say. So let's talk in the comments.
But we're going to get into our official topic. So if you don't know, and if you are from New Jersey, then you know that there is an active strike happening in New Jersey with njtransit, right? Oh my God, no.
You hate to see it.
No, you really do.
The bag.
No, but you really do hate to see it. So I'm going to give you guys some brief details on everything that's happening. So the New Jersey Transit engineers went on strike early Friday morning, halting services and impacting around 350,000 daily commuters. The union Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen, also known as BLET, cited low pay as the main issue, claiming its members are the lowest paid engineers among major passenger railroads and haven't received a raise in 6 years. So Governor Phil Murphy and NJ President Chris Calori expressed willingness to resume negotiations immediately, but rejected a deal that might lead to broader cost issues across the unions. They emphasized the financial strain on NJ Transit and the need to protect taxpayers and commuters from higher costs. The strike also disrupted travel plans, including services to the Shakira concerts that are currently happening at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Because I see people trying to say it's New York, it's New Jersey, East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Mind you, Beyonce on the way. We're gonna go see her tomorrow. I mean, not tomorrow, next week.
Beyonce, I'm coming. Okay,
we're gonna make it regardless because we live close. But
I'll drive, no issues.
Yeah,
okay.
No,
Right. So while NJ Transit rail and bus services is suspended, and actually NJ rail transit rail services are suspended, buses are still actively happening.
That's very crucial to emphasize. It's not separate. Train and buses.
No, they are separate.
No. I'm saying it's just important for like to differentiate, because I thought last week it was like NJ Transit as a whole.
Yeah. And, the thing is, like, because of the way that things are set up, every different form of transportation has their own union. So the buses union, so the NJ Transit bus union and NJ Transit buses or whatever like that, they had already came to their own, terms and conditions and stuff like that.
Thank you, God.
But with the BLET and then NJ Transit, they are still in their contract negotiations. They had went to Washington on Monday to sit down with the National Board of like Negotiations or whatever their name is. And according to what NJ Transit has said, they said that the talks were like kind of fruitful and they were getting towards a closer happy medium. But obviously that did not happen. After NJ Transit did their, and you know what's crazy? So like Governor Murphy and the Chris Kalori, which is the NJ Transit president, they were walking up to the podium and they looked like, we saw smiles on their faces. So we were like, oh my God, okay, like the strike isn't happening.
Good news.
Girl, they keep talking. I'm like, okay, like I'm not hearing like congratulations or nothing like that. Come to find out, actually didn't happen. And then BLET had their own press conference right after Governor Murphy and the NJ Transit president. And they basically were like, I just feel like with both parties, they're talking with such conviction to each other and pointing the finger, but it's like, what is the happy medium, right? And so like NJ Transit and Governor Murphy, their main thing is if they get, and they were calling it the Me Too clause or whatever like that, they're saying if they signed off on this Me Too clause that NJ,
they better find a different name.
Girl, BLET. Girl, BLET. They said if they sign off on that Me Too clause, it's going to basically impact us, and it's going to put they're basically to take all of NJ Transit's budget, right? And BLET is basically saying that we should get paid the same amount as like the people who work, like the people who hold these same type of positions in Long Island and those other places. We should make the same amount of money, if not more. And so like then they're asking for these Me Too clauses, which basically, and I have it here, the definition of that, because that also was a thing that confused me. So the Me Too clause is basically a provision that ensures certain benefits and changes negotiated from one employee group are automatically applied to another, covered by the agreement if the company makes a more favorable adjustment for the first group. Essentially, it's a way to ensure that employees don't get less favor terms than another group covered by the agreement. So basically, like I mentioned earlier, you know how like I said, the buses have their own union and all these other groups have their own union that work with NJ Transit. But since they have these Me Too clauses and stuff like that, if they basically apply that to NJ Transit and BLET, and they ask for these adjustments to be made, that could be a higher cost on top of the pay.
So it's like, so they could, if they agree with something, it's like spread across the board.
Yes, so everybody gets spread across the board. So what BLET is saying is that NJ Transit is basically not trying to do a Me Too clause with them, because that would mean that they have to make that adjustment for everybody.
Spend more money.
Exactly. So they're trying to have the BLT is saying that NJ Transit is trying to make them work with a different group to get those Me Too clauses, so that NJ Transit doesn't have to then impact the different contracts that they have with everybody else.
My thing is, and I feel like I mentioned it last week, NJ Transit as a whole, I know this is specific to railway services, but NJ Transit as a whole is extremely vital. I'm going to say to the tri-state area, not only New Jersey. Like, people go to work in New York daily through, thanks to NJ Transit. So at the end of the day, I understand that Governor Phil Murphy is saying that, like, we don't have the budget, we don't have the money, but if we need it, y'all better look for the money, find the money, because I do think that they are essential. Like, it's not like, oh, they're off on weekends. You know what I'm saying? Like, they work every single day, 7 days a week, and especially on weekends. That's when people really be popping in outside, especially now the summertime is coming, these concerts, we're gonna go see Beyonce, and a lot of people are coming from New York to see Beyonce, and they are going to be using NJ Transit, whether that's the bus or the train. And I feel like a lot of times, not just government, but as a whole, people overlook things because they have worked while getting underpaid for so long that they're like, oh no, well, you need to continue to do so. And people feel now empowered to be like, well, no, this is what we deserve. We know our value. We are crucial to the transportation system here in Jersey, New York, Connecticut, all the things. Right. So run us our coins, run our check. And at the end of the day, I feel like they always find a way. If there's not the money right now, that's a part of your job. Figure it out. No tea, no shade.
Right. But another thing I want to mention, that this marks the first NJ Transit strike in over 40 years. So like, this is like, I know some of y'all who aren't even from Jersey are like, okay, y'all trainmen like are on strike. Nah, baby, this is a huge, like, this is the first time in 40 years. One, two, there's all these different contingency plans from everyone. And I'm talking about Amtrak, PATH, Port Authority. Well, Port Authority owns PATH, but whatever. So like, you got all these different people creating all these different contingency plans, and a lot of them don't go into effect until Monday. So when the strike was officially started at 12:01 on Friday, there was a lot of contingency plans that weren't even in place yet until Monday, this coming Monday. So this is crazy. And on Sunday, they are going to be meeting with the National Negotiation Board, or whatever like their name is. Again, that's gonna be NJ Transit and BLET. So let's see, maybe Monday there might be some official resolution. But my thing is, if y'all have been going through these months and months of contract negotiations and nothing has come to terms, it's like, at this, like, something gotta, like,
they're gonna come to an agreement. I just feel like NJ Transit is so, again, I sound like a broken record, but NJ Transit is so crucial to, it kind of is like the brain power of our city. Like, there's, it might be a little cute thing we could maneuver and move stuff around for a good 2 days. We cannot keep things moving if it's 2 weeks without
and
the trains. It's just
another problem that is like, and Sheyla lives closer to New York, so like the options for like transportation into the city is like way more vast than where I am. And for me, even like when I used to take the train that's next to my house, literally I would have to take the train and then get dropped off at Newark Penn Station and do a like switch to another train. Well, transfer to another train, and then officially get into the city. And they are basically saying, like, especially, it's called the Raritan Valley line, and the Raritan Valley line, there's not that many trains that are on it because like it's just farther out of the way. But it's just like, they're saying you could take a bus. Like, Sheyla, how long is a regular bus ride for you to get to where you're at?
If there's no traffic for me to get to New York, it could be like 30 minutes to 40.
And for me, if I was to take the bus from where I live all the way to the city, it would take about 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Please. And also, there's, like you mentioned, there's not a lot of other options. Like, it's either the train or the train. Like, you don't have another option, which for me,
like, Uber is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, no. If you got an Uber, especially Rebecca, I mean, it's still expensive for me because I'm closer, but the fact that you got to cross a bridge is insane. And now we have the congestion pricing. So if wherever you got to be dropped off is in one of those streets, honey, you're going to spend a bag. But that's not on that. We love NJ Transit, and we hope that they are able to reach an agreement because we need y'all.
Yes, exactly.
And
And
on to the next.
yes, our next topic.
Yes. So as we have been following the Diddy trial, we talked about how jury selection was happening, and this week it was all about Cassie. She was on the stand, and it was a lot of back and forth, a lot of very heavy stuff. They talked about, drug use, drug abuse, a lot of sexual things that were happening, hotels, like a lot of violence. It was a whole lot of things happening.
Name dropping. She started name dropping.
Yeah, she did. And also the family has been present from the start, her son, her daughters. And I found that
You mean his
element.
son? His
Huh?
son? His children or hers?
No. Diddy's. I'm sorry if I.
No, because I was like, not them little kids.
No, not the little kids. Although she is very pregnant. Her husband has been there every day that she has been on the stand. But I meant to say Diddy's family has been present throughout this entire trial. And I found it kind of like his daughters are very young. And for them to be in court while they're talking about all of this heavy things, I think that has to be a bit traumatic. Regardless of if you believe your dad did it or not, listening to those things in connection to your father has to be something that is very heavy, very heavy. But maybe there is like a game plan to that, to show the jury like his family stands with him, whatever. We're not going to go into detail of all the things because it just has been so much that like we just can't break in everything that they talked about. But what I do want to mention is how a lot of people have been so quick to just be like, why didn't she leave? They've been together. Well, they were together for over 10 years. I believe it was like 11 years. And the violence, the drug abuse, the quote unquote freak offs were happening, I feel like after a year into the relationship. And on social media, a lot of the talk is not like, of course, there's like two extremes. There are the ones that are, understand Cassie and feel bad for her. But there are those, as always, the people that are like, well, why didn't you leave? And on the stand, she does mention like, I was in love with him. B, the times that I did try to leave, he was abusive or wouldn't let me leave the hotel or wherever they were at. And I am just like, why is it that so often people just automatically turn against the woman? Like, it's rare that people are like, oh, as a male, you shouldn't do that. And I think sometimes it is because people were raised in such like abusive households that they don't realize that, someone pushing you or someone screaming at you or doing like specific things that is not okay. So then you grow up older and you're just like, well, that happens to every relationship. No, that does not happen in every relationship. And again, there's also the people that are like, oh, well, they could have just been in a relationship where they like to try different things when it comes to sex. There are very different, like, just because you're a very like sexual person and you like to try things, once you put drugs and violence into things can get very messy. And I think, like, domestic violence isn't a joke. And a lot of times, a lot of people are like, oh, just leave. But it's like, it's not that easy to just leave.
Exactly. So you said a lot of great points, but the one thing that I want to touch on, and that is to your point about like domestic violence isn't just very cut and dry. It's not black and white. There's gray areas to every single thing, right? So to your point about like, how come when it comes to women, they don't want to believe women, but they're so quick to sit there and say like, actually, this man is the victim, or in this case, or whatever like that. I want to preface this by saying domestic violence can happen from both ends. It can happen for men and it can happen for women. I'm not stating that only women are whatever and stuff like that. We do see a higher percentage of women because those are the ones that are most reported on, right? So that is an important thing to know. So with Cassie being on the stand, being questioned and stuff like that, one of the things that I have been commonly seeing is people saying that question like, why didn't she just leave? when you are in those type of predicaments, and now I can't say I've ever been in those type of predicaments. I have seen other people, and I know other people who have been in those abusive type of relationships. And it's like, to you outside looking in, not dealing with that person on a day-to-day basis, it's easy for you to be like, why couldn't you just leave? Like, why are you still there? Hit him back, do this, do that. It's very easy to say from the outside looking in, but until you are in that predicament, and I think I fault myself because sometimes I have said that to certain friends where I'm like, how dare you even sit there and let that happen to you? But it's like, also, you're not in that situation. I am not in there mentally, I'm not there emotionally, and I'm not there physically or financially. I am not in that predicament to sit there and be able to understand what you are going through. So, like I said, from the outside looking in, it is very easy to be like, you can leave, you need to leave, but you're not in that.
And also, there's just very different levels of abuse, right? Like, aside from like the Diddy trial, right? I have seen people that it can start off something as so simple of like, oh well, he just pushed me because he was mad, and you brush that off. But guess what? The second, third time, the pushes get stronger. And when that second or third push comes, you've already been in a relationship for 3-4 years. And guess what? Like, the longer you're with somebody, you feel more comfortable. And so you look past those violent moments, right? Because you're like, well, I love him and we've been together for 4 years. And just because it's like the majority of time that we're together, it's all love. So I'm going to look past the 3-4 years.
Right.
Or I'm
Right.
going to look past the one time that he pushed me or he did this. I just think we just need to take time and breathe and stop automatically judging or picking a side. Because also, aside from like just this specific trial, this is exactly the reason why people don't want to speak up, right? Because they're like, well, if I say something, people are going to think that I'm lying. And it's you're wrong regardless of how you do it, or people have something to say regardless, right? Because let's say, as we're going to talk about DDG and Halle in a bit, but like, if you are real quick to press charges or bring up the case to law enforcement, it's a problem. But there's also women that wait, as is this case, years later to bring up what happens. And people are like, oh, well, why did you wait so long? It doesn't matter if you do it quick, early, people are automatically judging you. And it's like, domestic violence is super, super common. And I think, again, I feel like I sound like a broken record, but because a lot of us have been raised in very toxic households, you think that things are okay that aren't, right? Like, you're raised in households where your parents are always screaming and pushing and this, and that is not normal. Like, in your head, you might think that it is. So when you see it happening in other, in other relationships, or when you grow up and you do it, you think, oh, well, that's normal because I was raised like that. No, that is not normal.
It's not an excuse either. And to your point, I think a lot of times in Black communities, minority communities, we enable dysfunction. We enable all the toxic behaviors. We enable the constant disrespect, violence, and everything like that, because that is what you are raised in. And that does not mean that it's okay. It does not mean that I sit here and when somebody else is complaining that this happens, and like, I've caught myself doing that sometimes, where people are like, oh, well, like, my parents do that. And I'm like, well, in my household, they did this, so it's okay. And it's like, you got to be able to clock yourself and understand that within these minority and Black communities, we can't keep allowing and accepting the dysfunction to be the point of our judgment. If you didn't like it growing up, how can you sit here and be like, it's completely okay if it's happening to somebody else? No, that doesn't make it okay. It actually is a problem.
Yeah, and it's like an endless cycle, right? Because I clock myself, like, there's certain things where I was raised where I was like, oh, I would never do that, right? Or when I raise my kids, I want to make sure that I don't do X, Y, Z. But it's like, sometimes it's just a creature of habit. You're used to it, so you think it's normal. But no, we need to clock ourselves, and we do need to speak up when you see these types of things happening, because they are not okay.
Right. And I've been in those predicaments where I've had friends who, like, the I'm talking about male and female in this case, basically the boyfriend basically like yelled in the girl's face. And I stepped in and was like, hey, like, don't talk to her like that. And basically was told to mind my business from both parties. And it's just like, in those type of instances, could I continue? But at the same time, you can't get help or you can't want change until you want it for yourself. Yeah. And unfortunately, at times you got to sit back and watch. But when that person does speak up, why do you feel like you shouldn't listen?
And I think also as a society, like, that's why I sometimes get a little bit triggered when we are on social media and spaces or accounts like the Shade Room amplify toxic relationships, especially in our community, like Caribbean, Latino, Black, minorities, as like, oh, it's fun and joke. Like people in the comments, like Krishan Rock, what's her name? Krishan Rock
and Blueface.
Yeah, and just several other relationships that are like big when it comes to like culture wise. We need to stop amplifying those things because the slashing tires, the breaking windows, all of that is not okay. I don't care how much you love somebody, and I know love can make you do crazy things, but that is not okay. If it is not working, let it go. I don't care if you have to cry for a month in your house in order to be able to end it, but you need to end it because it will escalate and it's going to end very, very badly.
And I want to, before we move on to our next topic, I want to touch on that because for me, all those behaviors that you mentioned, that was a learning experience for me. I learned very quickly, like, doing all that. Like, people think that when you get jealous or you act out or like I start stalking you, threaten to pop your tires or actually do it, that type of stuff means like that passion, that anger means that you love me. If I have to sit there and get out of myself, out of my composure, to sit there and act out on you, is that really love? Or am I looking at a different way of trying to control you based on a different emotion? Because love isn't the way that's doing it.
Yeah, that's definitely not love. And our society might, show us or wants to push that down our throat. But true love should never make you get to that point.
Yeah. And also, that's why I also always say, and Sheyla and I have talked about this, we don't have the personalities that look at all these different relationships and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so engrossed in it, like this, that, and the third. Mm-mm. I will sit there and be like, oh, they're cute together. I like seeing them together. But if they break up, it does absolutely nothing for me because I don't like to put weight in people's relationships because you don't know what's happening behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. The amount of celebrity relationships we have seen where we're like, oh, this person they look so cute together. And then you find out all this different stuff. It's like, and also I just want to mention really quickly with Diddy, right? I see a lot of people talking about some, like, ever since the trial started happening and they're like, I saw Boosie posted that this should be a domestic violence case because she liked the sex that was happening, this, that, and the third. I don't think people understand that when you are in that type of like mind frame or state of mind or in that predicament, that you will find, and this is terrible to say, you will find light where you can, right? So it's like, if you are consistently being tossed, and I'm talking about in terms of Cassie and Diddy, if you are consistently tossed in these freak offs, in the drug abuse, the this, the that, and everything like that, you're going to have to find a happy place where you can. Right? You're going to have to find those little moments of enjoyment just so you can find a way to survive in those moments. Right? And a lot of people are like, but Diddy has done all this stuff, good things, bad things, over the years. Two things can be true. Just because to us, he was shown as this mogul, this, that, and everything like that under the sun for years, that does not discount the fact that he is an alleged predator. That doesn't discount anything. Two things can be true at the same time. I could be the nicest person that you've ever met in life, but in someone else's story, I'm a villain. That does not make that statement less true or more true. Everybody gets a different version of everyone.
Yeah. And also, I feel like when you insert drug into anything, right? Because aside from for the freak offs, it was like said during the trial that, she was very heavy on drugs, right? She was suffered from drug abuse. So when you insert that in, things that you do while you're under the influence are just not
amplified.
Yeah. So on to the next topic because the legal battles have been legally this week.
Literally. So the next thing we're going to talk about, and Sheyla touched on it a little earlier, was DDG and Halle. So a judge has granted a restraining order to Halle Bailey. Bailey says that her ex-boyfriend, rapper and streamer and YouTuber DDG has been reportedly violent to her, and she fears for herself and their baby. So if you do know, they do have a child together named Halo. So the judge on Tuesday ordered DDG to stay away from Bailey and their 17-month-old son, Halo, until a June 6th hearing. The Associated Press reported TMZ also revealed some photos that were used in her filing that showed a chipped tooth and a bruising on her arm. DDG and his family have denied these allegations. Also, some quick background information. Throughout their, well, she says, according to Bailey, throughout our relationship, Daryl has been and continues to be physically, verbally, emotionally, and financially abusive towards me. I am seeking other orders to protect myself and our son Halo from his ongoing abuse, right? So let me just show you some of the photos. If you don't know who Halle and DDG are, you are under a rock, but let me help you see who they are. So this is them, right? So Halle is who you see on the left, and DDG is who you see on the right. And these are, I mentioned how TMZ had showed some of the bruising and the chipped tooth that they were mentioning in the court documents. So this is basically what it was. You see a small chip on her teeth, and you see some bruising like handprints on her arm, right? So there was a conversation that was happening where apparently Halle was on vacation and people were assuming that she was on vacation with Brent Faiyaz. And so there was text messages that were sent. I mean, you really can't see them, but basically like he was coming at her, basically took a screenshot from like a Twitter post and sent it over to her saying, and they were basically alleging that they were on vacation together. And he was kind of like talking crazy to her, mentioned Mother's Day and all that stuff, right? So
essentially, he was jealous because he was believing the blogs that she was on vacation with this man.
Exactly. So my whole thing, I've been seeing, like we mentioned with Diddy and Cassie, I've been seeing this whole transition of people basically taking DDG side over Halle, saying that, you know, I believe it's her fault, this, that, and the third. Like, I believe DDG, I stand with DDG, da 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 da, right? I've been seeing this narrative going around. And two narratives that I cannot stand to hear people say anymore is protect Black women and bringing a Black man down. I cannot stand those two narratives at this current moment because it's always protect Black women until the person they are asking for protection from is someone that you like. And it's this narrative of bringing a Black man down. There's a difference between bringing a Black man down and holding a Black man accountable. And I think people refuse to understand the two. They like to mesh them as into one. And it's just like, I'm sick of the narrative because it's like, y'all clearly don't believe in what y'all say. Your actions are not matching the words that you like to sit there and preach. You can't say protect Black women, and when things happen to Black women, you're the first person to sit there and be like, they are lying. It doesn't make sense. So it's just like, for me, it's like, I think I'm the type of person, if somebody's telling me there's a lawsuit happening, I don't create an opinion at all because I want to see what is brought up in the court cases. I want to see the evidence that's provided. I want to hear the statements that are giving. I want to hear what the reaction was when this was presented at this time and this, that, and the third. Right? I don't need to see what the jury says. I want to hear what I want to hear if that happens in the case, the court case or the trial or whatever it is, and I come to my own opinion.
And to be honest, like before all of this even happened, I remember when their relationship started, I was like already on like a Halle,
Right.
you could do so much better because again, DDG, I honestly didn't even know he was a rapper. I knew him just from a YouTube. Like he made a lot of YouTube videos, and I feel like that was like how I knew him. And I just feel like Halle had so much going for herself, and not saying that like it matters, you know, economically or career wise who you date who treats you well and who you love, point blank period. But before all of this came out, people were already like on the fence with this relationship because they already knew that they both came from very different types of sides. And so whatever, we accepted it. Again, it's none of our business. They don't need our acceptance. But it was just, I don't know. It gives, I don't know. And again, kind of like the same thing that I started off talking about when we were talking about the Diddy and Cassie the situation. People are so quick to just pick a side. And especially when it comes to women, here we have somebody that she honestly didn't wait a long time to put this restraining order, right? Because everything has been very quick with them. They got together, they dated for a little bit. She came out pregnant and she hid the pregnancy, but a lot of people were already clocking that she was pregnant. But we acted like we didn't know. And then boom, they came out with the kid. When Halo was brought to life, he's a super cutie patootie. A lot of people were like, is DDG using his son for clout? And you saw that Halle was not okay with the, I don't want to say the amount of times, but like the number of times that DDG would have the baby on stream. I remember one time he went to see Kai Cenat and he was on stream, and that was a whole shebang. And I just truly, again, I'm not picking sides. We'll see what ends up happening. But like, I think Halle has a lot to lose. I feel like when you're a Disney star, Little Mermaid forever, I don't think she would bring this case up unless she had evidence. Like, I don't see that. Again, I might be completely wrong, but I just feel like she has so much going for herself. And she knows that putting this restraining order or starting this case is going to bring out bad press. Why would she want that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why people would think that someone would bring something up like this just for funsies. Halle does not need the money. She has a very good career going for herself. She's super young, beautiful, and successful. Like, you know what I mean? Because people love to say sometimes, oh, it's for a money grab. She don't need the money. And I understand that DGG has come out and like he has continued to stream on Twitch, and him and his family are like, oh, we know DDG, he would never do that. And okay, it's fine, whatever. Like we said, family business, family is family. But at the end of the day, the restraining order is in place, and we will see when June comes around what ends up happening there.
And my whole thing is, right, it's very easy to take something and perceive it completely out somewhat other way, or to have it feed a different narrative, right? So I've been seeing, ever since the court documents and stuff have been read and talked about, I've been seeing a lot of people make these compilation videos basically saying like, oh, Halle admitting to being the problem, right? So like, I'm gonna show you like a little clip right here. Like, hold on, let me put the volume up.
Aries, I'm a fire sign. I get very passionate. I seem nice online and innocent and everything, but you guys do not know. I will go to battle with my yelling, with my words, everything. I'm good at that, right? And if I gotta yell or check anyone, that's what I gotta do. That's just the way I be.
Right. So basically, it's just like it's a 2-minute long video, and they just keep taking all these different instances of her talking about this, that, and the third, right? Let me say this. Relationships go through problems. No relationship is perfect. Any person who's been in a long-term relationship will sit there and tell you that they're not perfect. There's going to be days where you hate each other. There's going to be days where you want to yell at each other. There's going to be days where this and that, whatever else is happening. But at the end of the day, you guys have to want to be together and actively put the work in the relationship to stay together. Now, with all that being said, that does not mean that you can put your hands on me. That doesn't mean that you could talk to me and degrade me. That doesn't mean that you could sit there and abuse me mentally, emotionally, financially, in any type of way, right? And I'm not saying I'm an advocate for any of that at all, right? If Halle did open her mouth and say something disrespectful to him and he says something back, unfortunately, that's their relationship. Well, was their relationship. And two, if they decide to stay together, they're no longer together now, right? But what I'm basically trying to get at, that does not mean that you can put your hands on me, regardless of how crazy my mouth gets. There is obviously accountability that needs to be taken at both ends. But at the end of the day, what you do with that accountability shows me a lot. So when we do see how these court proceedings happen in June 6th, on June 6th, or if it gets pushed out, so let's just say June for right now. Let's just say June. When these court proceedings do happen in June, I think it's going to be very interesting to hear what both parties have to say, because it's very easy for DDG to get on Twitch and prove his case, but prove your case to the judge.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I just think as a society, I admire and I give props to women that stand up for themselves. You know what I mean? Because I know for a fact that it is not easy, especially how society, perceives women sometimes like, oh, money grab or oh, this or whatever. And I do, again, want to mention that I know that there are women that are the problem at times, right? They will start the issue. They will, initiate the punch. And that is not okay either. I think as a society, we need to make it clear and stop amplifying these toxic things because they're not okay. And I think the more we amplify it in movies and reality shows, like I know all of these things be like jokey and like mindless type of like movies and shows, but what we watch and all of these things, the music that we say that we listen to, kind of like is one with us, right? Because we listen to it all the time. So then you think like, oh, like it's normal. It's not normal. And I think that all ripples down to us as a society and how we act and what we accept and what we don't accept.
Yes. And also we also gotta realize there's a child in play here.
Yes.
They have a child together. So regardless of your thoughts, your opinions, they have to have contact with one another. They need to, right? And so for me, it's like, what's the best way to mediate this so that your child doesn't grow up having any type of resentment towards the mother or the father?
Yeah.
And also
at the end of the day, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
No,
at
go
the end of the day, it's all about safety for Halo, right? I'm pretty sure Halle does want her son to grow up with her father, right? But we got to set boundaries in place. It's not, oh, you pick him up when you want to, or when you see him, you expect me to be there because you think that we can still have a future. Like at the end of the day, the goal is to keep Halo safe, and whatever that may be is what the court will hopefully finalize or come to a decision.
And to all the internet lawyers and all the opinion hoarders, y'all are not in these predicaments. Y'all are not in these predicaments. Y'all are not in these relationships. You are not in these situations. So it's very easy for you to read something, take something, see something, and think that you got everything figured out. People are complex individuals. Just because somebody could show you one personality on the internet or you could see them in these interviews, you do not know these people. So for you to think that you do and think that you can automatically create this opinion and have this like this big, deep thought and whatever, it's very weird. You don't even think of your parents so highly. So how dare you even think about these celebrities in that way? So that's all that we have to say for these topics. Like we've mentioned in the past, if you have any comment on anything that we've talked about so far, or even that we talked about later on in the show, comment them below. Let us know your thoughts, even if you agree, disagree. A statement is a statement. Say how you feel, say it with your chest, and
stand on it.
Okay, now let us get into our social corner. Yes, welcome to the social corner. I know we talked about a lot of stuff in the topics that we were talking about earlier that have been trending on social media, but as you all saw, we went into deep dives on our thoughts, opinions, takes, and everything happening in those topics. So with these, our social corner, if you are new here, here's a brief little description. It's basically where we talk about different things that we've been seeing on social media that we feel like we want to talk about, but not spend 15, 20 whole minutes talking about it. It's going to be quick few minutes, quick takes on to the next topic. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is Jayden Daniels. If you don't know, he is the quarterback for the Washington Commanders. His mom recently did an interview, right? So her name is Regina Jackson. She's the mother, agent, and business manager of Washington Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels. She recently addressed public speculations about her protective role in his dating life during an appearance on the Pivot podcast. She clarified that past comments about being weary of them girls made during Daniel's time at LSU was taken out of context and stemmed from a parent's natural concern for a public figure with financial status. She emphasized that she is not stopping her 24-year-old son from dating, stating, "My son can date, he can live freely," but explained that their close relationship means that Daniels values her opinion. She pointed to her qualifications as a certified agent with dual master's degrees in hospital administration and entrepreneurial business, and she said she is helping him prepare for life after football. So Regina has gone viral multiple times, including being seen during what appeared to be a date in Miami, at a wedding, and sitting between Daniels and USC basketball stars Juju Watkins at a game. And despite the attention, she states that she wants to be known as Regina Jackson, not Jaden Daniels' mom. And Daniels himself has acknowledged her protectiveness, saying, "Nothing gets past my mama," right? So I just wanted to show y'all a little clip from the Pivot podcast that we had mentioned.
I listened to you talk about the things you've done for yourself, but also the way you look at parenting. It just sounds like being a good mama to me. But when things become public and you let the outside world start to pick it apart, they're going to be able to critique it and break it down and do whatever they want with it. You know, you were very honest about protecting him. You said predators, also protecting him from women who can be predators. And we've seen that all through sports. We see it after their careers. We see it in business. Being the good woman you are, also raising a daughter, why have you been so diligent about protecting Jaden from the wrong woman?
So first and foremost, I have a meme out there, and it's funny. So I can't laugh. I can only laugh about it. But the whole girls comment was made, first of all, 2 years when he was at LSU. It was a question asked, like, what is your biggest fear? And that should be every parent's biggest fear. That should be, if you're a star athlete and you're a female in WNBA, that should be your biggest fear is, the men or, the women, because you're a public figure and, your dollar amount is associated with your name. So you never know who really is there for you and who's really against you. And our thing is like, I want Jaden to date. I don't want everybody to say I'm putting it on record. My son can date. He can live freely, makes his own decisions. However, the relationship we have, he does value my opinion because, when my kids were little, I did a lot for them. So, and my kids saw that. My father, my background, I worked too hard to allow anybody at any moment to come in and just, take it away. So I have a view of what I feel a good person is. And, but my son is 24 and he does have to go through things and he has to learn on his own. And, he's a great kid and I'm thankful for him. He's, not like some of these other guys, he's really to himself. He's a homebody. He just loves sports. Like he really is. So I'm trying to work on his afterlife after sports because at some point it does end. And I don't want him to just be like, now what do I do? So I want to keep him involved in the world and, have opened up a lot of doors. Like I'm in charge of his foundations. We're trying to build facilities and, back in his hometown that are going to help the youth and things like that. So that's what I'm in charge of on top of his everyday business dealings and, like I said, dealing with creative teams. I'm dealing with the creative side. I'm doing the storybooks and how we're positioning him and, all this other stuff. So it's not just about you guys seeing me out and thinking we're just like hanging, partying. Hold up.
So when I saw this, right, I think there was one point when we saw like Juju Watkins and like Jaden Daniels and stuff like that. I have a photo of it right here. When we had saw them at the game together, and then like the next clip, you see that the mom is sitting in between them. I remember the memes that had went viral. Like me and Sheyla was sitting there cracking up with one another, and I was like, when I saw that, I was like, I mean, they're technically, I don't think they're there on a date. Like if his mom was already sitting there, I don't think it should be a problem or anything like that. Right. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I remember, like I mentioned earlier, it's very easy to see something on social media for 2 seconds and assume that the whole narrative. Right. So it's like, for me, if you always see me with Sheyla and you take videos of every time you see Sheyla, you'd be like, dag, like she don't hang out with nobody else but Rebecca. And it's like, that's really not even the case. Like, you just happen to catch me and her at that moment. What if her and I just happen to be at the same place, didn't even know it, right? So my whole thing is, I think sometimes we don't like to see healthy relationships between parents and children, especially sometimes when it comes to mothers and sons. There is usually a negative connotation, and sometimes I fault myself because I look at that sometimes when I see like a son so close with his mom, I'm like, the mom gonna be an issue. But it's just like, how you don't know what the dynamic's going to be like. You don't know what that mom actually wants for her son. For her sitting there talking about how she handles this for her son, her children value her opinion and stuff like that. Clearly, they are a close-knit family. So it's very easy for us to sit there and be like, Dad, she always with him. What if he always want her there? You know? And I think for me, I feel like you got to find that happy medium, because before I even watched this interview, I remember there was one point where I was like, Dad, like, do she ever be at home? Why is she always with him? Like, this is why I can't stand mama boys and things like that. And then when I listened to the interview, I'm like, okay, I think differently a little bit. But also I was clocking myself, because I'm like, I know when I have a son or when I have sons, I might be like that. Right? I might be that parent who seems like they're just too active in their children's lives. But I think also that comes with like people. What was the thing that we mentioned earlier where it basically was like, normalizing the dysfunction. I feel like a lot of times in these households, some of us weren't always with our parents, or we couldn't always be with our parents, or we can't always go to our parents for counseling and stuff like that. So when we do see it happening with other people, it looks weird and awkward to us, you know, or we're just like, that's problematic. I don't like that, you know? So I think it's very easy for us to put our own dysfunction, our family dysfunctions, and try to place those on other people, you know?
Yeah, for me, I have two things. One is that we all have different relationships with our parents. We either had the helicopter parent or the loosey goosey one that lets you be outside till 2 a.m. Girl, my mom would never. But I think as you get older, the relationship that you have with your parents, you need to set the boundaries, right? So I do not think that her mom or like his mom would have all of these, you know, green lights to be the head of his foundation and to do this and to do XYZ unless Jaden allowed it. So for everyone that's clocking the mom, I don't think that's the mom's issue. I think Jaden does in fact want his mom to be leading all of these things. Like, I think if Jaden said, Mom, I don't want you to go to this event with me, she just wouldn't go. And that's, I think as a parent, as kids, like we do that. Like, let's say for me, when I was at home with my mom, I remember like when you live with your parents, you, at least Caribbean parents, I can't speak for every, you know, type of race, but like when you live with your parents, they don't care if you 40, 50, if you under their house is their rules.
Even if you're not under their house, they think they got some type of say.
Right. But it's, you know, you could maneuver it a little bit when you're not living with them. But when you're living with them, is their house, their rules. So now with Jaden is like, he probably saw how hard she worked and how she was always there helping him. And now I feel like also when you're an athlete, and especially him, he had a very successful rookie season. He has a lot of resources now, a lot of money. And I feel like if you don't have the right people in your circle, you can easily mismanage all of those things. So who not better than his mother, who you know, of course, there's different relationships. And there are those odd instances where, you know, the parent uses their kids for their money and for what they have to offer. But like, I think that's more rare. So it's for you to hire somebody that you don't know. I would 1,000% rather have my mom managing my moves. And if people don't like that his mom is out with him all the time, those are boundaries that Jaden has to set, not us as the public.
Right. And I saw a lot of people who are like commenting like after, like on that clip, they were basically like, girl, go get a man. And it's just like, I just don't understand people, because it's just like, one, some of y'all don't even have kids. Two, even if you have kids, your child is 2 years old. It's just like, and three, half of y'all's children won't get past working a regular little 9 to 5 job. And there's no shade to that, but it's like, they not about to be a quarterback for no team. So it's just like, you have all these opinions, have these think pieces on the dynamic that he has with his mother, and that his mother is too involved in his life. Your parents weren't even involved in your life. Shouldn't you try and change that when you do have children, if you do decide to have children? It's like, y'all keep trying to clock something that don't even need to be clocked. You don't even know how to read a clock. So it's just like, what are you focused on, you know?
Or just like cross that bridge when you get there. I don't know if he's actually dating Juju. I don't think he is. But like, that's like a situation that needs to be between who his future girl is. And y'all can't even be mad, because you do know that there are women out there that will make it their mission to just date an athlete. So his mom saying what she said is so real, because that is a real issue. There are people out there that are literally just seeking or searching to secure their bag, because they know they don't want to work a day in their life, and they just want to get pregnant by an athlete and put you on child support.
Right. And then we sitting there talking about all they want, this baby mama culture. It's like, sometimes some of y'all needed a little guidance. Y'all refuse to get that.
Oh, I'm so sorry, but actually, I'm not sorry. I will always be Jaden mom's. I'm rooting for her. And if people have a problem with it, I think she will do what Jaden accepts. If Jaden doesn't want something, he has to set those standards, not us. Now, the next thing that's happening, dun, 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 child, you will not believe it. Chris Brown is in jail, honey. So, a little backstory. I'm sure you guys know who Chris Brown, R&B singer, Rihanna X. Y'all know the deal. So Chris Brown has been denied bail in the UK and will remain in custody until June 13th. Brown was arrested Thursday in England for allegedly hitting someone with a bottle in a London nightclub in 2023, according to the UK Sun. He was reportedly apprehended at a hotel shortly after arriving in the country via private jet. So the Metropolitan Police, the police that arrested him, is based in London, but they reportedly traveled to Manchester in the UK to arrest him after they were tipped off that Chris Brown had arrived. So the gag of all of this is that Brown, the reason why he traveled to the UK is because he was set to embark on his Breezy Bowl tour in celebration of 20 years of his career. The show was scheduled to kick off with a sold-out performance in Amsterdam on June 8th. But keep in mind, now he is going to be locked up until June 13th. So it's looking like, unless something shakes, something moves, this Breezy Bowl not going to kick off June 8th, because he's going to be in jail.
Listen, I know I got my tickets for August. I need to see Bryson Tiller there. I need to see Summer Walker and Chris Brown. Listen, pull up.
Well, y'all gonna have to go help bail him out or something, because it's not.
And also, I saw this meme. It was like, not them clearing his visa just to arrest him, and I was just like.
And I honestly, I mean, listen, I'm a big Rihanna fan. If you know, this is like way back situation. I'm Team Rihanna. I know they were both toxic, whatever, but growing up, I loved him. Down with You. That was my song. With you. And okay. But now I don't really listen to him. I don't know what music he dropped. I don't keep up with him anymore. But I feel like as a team manager or whoever the coordinator of the tour is, here I am struggling to get a job. Whoever the tour manager is, his assistant, how are you going to allow him to travel to the UK without making sure that all of these issues have been cleared?
Honestly, and I'm so glad you said that, because who is your manager, my love? Like, who is your manager? Because first off, you should be aware of all the troubles he currently has, past troubles and everything like that. That's literally, and I know some people are like, oh, well, something slipped through the cracks. Okay, but that's literally your job, to manage my life, to manage and make sure that I stay out of trouble. what were y'all doing? Like,
but this is so major. Like, I feel like if it was a slip in the crack, these are types of situations that, like, if you as a manager or whoever was in charge of these types of things, you need a letter that's signed with a lawyer stamp that it says it is official that I can travel to the UK and be able to perform my tour without any of these legal battles coming to bite me. Because now you are fumbling the bag for several people. The people that paid to go watch him in the UK, the dancers, whoever's a part of the tour, the other art. Like, I just think as a whole, whoever was in charge of making this happen dropped the ball in so many parts and situations. Keep in mind, this was a situation that happened back in 2023.
Y'all should have been settled that in 2024.
But anyways, if you live in the UK and you have a ticket for June 8th, good luck to y'all. We'll see what happens if Chris Brown makes it out in time.
Okay, let us know. So the next thing we're going to talk about. Oh, also, let me show y'all his mugshot. I forgot I had that. That's Chris Brown's mugshot. He
looked down bad.
I was like, he look a little mad, but I would be too. Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Tory Lanez, right? So rapper Tory Lanez is currently hospitalized after being stabbed in a California prison. He is in a fair condition after he was allegedly attacked by another inmate in a housing unit. A post on his Instagram account alleges that he was stabbed 14 times, including 7 wounds to his back, 4 to his torso, and 2 to the back of his head. Gosh darn. And 1 to the side of his face. According to the New York Post, the inmate who allegedly stabbed Tory Lanez in prison has been identified as Santiago Casio. Mm-hmm. And he's allegedly serving life in prison with the possibility of parole. Tory Lanez is currently serving 10 years in jail, right? So before we continue, I want to state exactly what his charges are, because there's always going to be somebody who sits there and was like, he was charged for shooting Meg Thee Stallion, this, that, and the third. He ain't shoot her, free Tory Lanez, yada, 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 right? So Tory Lanez was charged and convicted on 3 felony charges: assault with a semi-automatic firearm, having a loaded, unregistered firearm in a vehicle, and discharging a firearm with gross negligence, right? So, yes, this case spanned from Meg Thee Stallion, because, you know, everybody, anytime this case was just like how we saw with Diddy and Cassie, Halle and DDG, everybody was picking sides, right? And a lot of people are like, Tory Lanez ain't shoot her. Tory Lanez ain't shoot her. The case of Megan Thee Stallion getting shot in the foot was the grand concept of the trial. Mm-hmm. But technically he is in jail for 3 charges that stem from that incident, not specifically shooting Meg Thee Stallion, right? So when people are like, free Tory Lanez, he was already a felon. He should have never been in the possession of a gun, my loves. So he was going to go to jail empty ways. So if you are stuck on stupid, that is why he is in jail. And the other charges that I mentioned, because speaking of Chris Brown, he was quick to post on his story, talk about free Tory Lanez. And honestly, I'm sick of
it. Gives karma. You should have been focused on your 2023 situation. Look at you now. Twitter finger, you was Twitter finger, Instagram fingers. Focus on you and your business. That's why sometimes a lot of people need mirrors to their face. Stop trying to be in other people's business. Clock your own tea first.
Yeah, so the reason why I wanted to mention this is because you got the people who are team Meg Thee Stallion who are like, this is karma, this, that, and the third. And then you got the people who are team Tory Lanez who are like, Meg Thee Stallion she basically should crumble, because he would have never got stabbed if he was never in jail. He was going to be in jail anyway. This is exactly why I am stating all this information, right? So my whole thing is this is quick and straight to the point. A lot of these celebrities, I believe Tory Lanez is in general population. I think that a lot of them, because he has been in there for as long as he has as of right now, people think that he's cool, calm, collected. People don't understand. Prison is all about power, right? When you are in there, there are different hierarchies, and there's people who are in there for life who don't care and will do what they want. I'm already in here. What y'all gonna do next? you know? So that's the main reason why I just wanted to give this quick story, because obviously we talk about current events. This has been trending on social media, so we wanted to talk about this. That's really all I had to add to the situation.
I have nothing to add. I just like, oh, he got stopped. I said,
people get stopped every day. Exactly.
So, a topic that I saw on my social media, I saw this lady fix her mouth to say the most outrageous thing ever. And I'm gonna give a little quote of it before I play the clip. This lady said, quote, "If you're 200 pounds, you shouldn't be in a Pilates class." And we're gonna play the clip.
If you're 200 pounds, you shouldn't be in a Pilates class. There's no reason why they should allow 200-pound people in a level 2 class. Or you shouldn't be allowed to be a Pilates instructor if you have a gut and you're fat.
Right.
First of all,
right.
And I'm not gonna say the words that I want to, what I want proceeding after. First of all, why are you worried about what other people are doing? It pisses me off. First of all, she thinks she looking real cute because she got little shades and white outfit. God don't like ugly. I don't care if you a bone, a stick. When your energy, when your personality is that ugly, honey, I don't care how fit. You could have a 10-pack. You're ugly. You should never speak like that. And if you want to go to a Pilates class that's only with quote unquote skinny people, then figure out your money situation. Clearly, you not high class enough. You broke that you can't have your own one-on-one class. Like, what is wrong with people? Like, I think sometimes people let social media get to their head, because how can you say that? You know what I mean? Like, that's the type of stuff that if you really feel that way, you going on social media to say stuff like that, I'm concerned. Because what? It had to be a joke, because I don't think someone like what?
It definitely give rage bait. I feel like she was definitely trying to do that rage bait type stuff. God forbid you be a little chunky monkey and you want to lose a little weight in Pilates. God forbid. My whole thing is, right, I feel like we've had this conversation in the past. Whenever there is a plus size person, right, it's always you need to lose weight, you need to eat healthier, you need to do this, you need to do that. But when you do it, you still get judged. So it's like, do you want them to better themselves, or do you want them to stay like at the same position that they're in? For you to walk into a class, and this is why some people don't like to go to the gym also, because it's just like you got people who will sit there, criticize, critique, and say whatever they want when it comes to you trying to sit there and better your life, create healthier habits for yourself. And it's like, you so worried about me, but you're not losing weight for minding my business. Like, I must be running through your mind all day and you ain't lost a single calorie. Like, that don't make no sense.
Like, it's so triggering. So anyways, I did want to talk about that because that's insane. And whether it was rage bait or not, you don't say stuff like that. The next story is even crazier. Okay. A 23-year-old beauty influencer in Mexico was shot and killed. And it was all caught on TikTok Live. She was on TikTok Live while she was shot and killed. Let me play this little report, because if you guys know, TikTok live stream is like a very big thing now. Everybody is live streaming, and the people get hefty amount of money. So this is what happened to the 23-year-old.
A TikTok live stream ended in terror when a 23-year-old beauty influencer was shot dead on camera at her salon in Western Mexico. Valeria Marquez had thousands of followers on social media, where just moments before her death, she showed off a stuffed animal that was delivered to her. Then, in her final few seconds, she is seen looking into the distance right before she is shot dead. Jalisco state authorities said a man entered her salon and fired at her, and she had no vital signs when medics arrived. The suspects have yet to be identified, but the case is being investigated as a suspected femicide. A rampant problem in Mexico, a country that has seen staggering level of violence against women and girls.
So a lot of the other clips that I was seeing, they were saying how like this situation reminded them a little bit of like the Selena thing, because backstory is, according to the videos that I saw, that her friend was like, oh, when are you going to be at your salon? Because somebody wants to deliver something to you and it's expensive. So I need you to be at the salon. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, I'm not sure, like, who's going to send me something, like, what? Like, you know, who would send me an expensive gift? And the friend didn't give any details. She was just like, oh, just tell me what time you're there so I can give X person the time. And so people are now speculating, like, did her friend set her up for this? It's just so mind-blowing. And I know a lot of people, like, live streaming has become a very big thing now. You got Twitch streamers that, you know, you're able to see where all these celebrities are at what time. And I honestly think, like, okay, I get some people love doing that because it builds community. But at some point, we need to realize that not everybody has good intentions, right? Like, there are people that are, you know, have been laid off, are going through very hard times, have no money, are broke, are stuck in a couch, and they are seeing your everyday move. They're seeing the amount of money that you're making. You're going to splurge every other day. And you know what I mean? Like, it's obviously not okay. But while they're stuck at home, sad and depressed, and they're seeing your every move, it is a safety concern. At some point, we need to stop live streaming every single second of our lives, or like these celebrities, because it's just not healthy. And of course, we have to see what ends up happening. But like, the fact that this 23-year-old influencer was shot dead while live streaming on TikTok is insanity. It's insane.
I think, to your point, it's like, it's a double-edged sword, because yes, I don't think sometimes, like, I feel like some people post a little too much of their lives, but at the same time, that's what makes them the money, and that's what has grown them the following that they have. But I think also it's like, it's very easy for people to hide their true intentions when it comes to you. People like to sit there and see how you can take them to the top, but they don't want you to stay there with them, right? So it's just like, if this, what, you know, saying that the friend possibly did something like this, like set her up or something like that, if that is true, it's just like, I think, to me, that's what makes the situation even scarier, because it's like, if you are someone who I trust, someone who has shown me that they're willing to be there for me, and then all in all, you really aren't, I think for me, that's what makes the situation even more scarier, because I didn't need to lose my life because you're jealous. Just because you couldn't make it to the top, that has nothing to do with me. Step your cookies up. Like,
also, she was so young, like 23, a whole life ahead of her. Like, oh my God. We continue to see so many young people die. Like, of course, death is sad regardless, but like, someone that's just starting to like live.
But it's like dying in ways that they didn't need to die.
Even that, like, literally, she was shot like multiple times. I believe like 2 while you were on live. Like, imagine the amount of people that were on that live stream. So not only like were you shot and killed, but you had thousands of people watching.
And now they're traumatized too.
Oh my God. That is so sad. But let's move on.
Yes. You think we got to? I think we should.
I don't think so.
Sports Center, right?
Yes.
Right. Let's just get to the Sports Center.
Tell him this, Diddy Mitch, Junior want to not be on my.
Yes, y'all. We are back to our sports corner, because dribble to the left, dribble to the right. Women in sports is the right. So,
girl, every day, every Friday, she comes up with a new little.
Girl, put me in the booth, okay? Put me in the stew. But we are talking NBA playoffs right now, and y'all, I've been through an emotional whirlwind. Okay, so as y'all know, I love Darius Garland. The Cleveland Cavaliers were number 1 in the East, correct?
Yes, the regular season, yes.
Right, during the regular season, which is when they went into the playoffs, they had home court advantage, all this stuff. I was one of the people who believed they were going to go far, right? I'm thinking they about to get it to the finals. Was I wrong or was I wrong? Okay, so the Indiana Pacers like, I think the record was like 4-1. The Cavaliers got one game. No one, mind you, no one expected the Indiana Pacers to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers because of their regular season being number one. Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, all these players was just so good during the regular season. They were so good in the first round of the playoffs. Everybody thinking things about to be smooth sailing. Baby, Cancun, that's where they at. Actually, the rest of them in Cancun, Donovan Mitchell on tour.
Exactly. But I think that's why people also say that in order to win a national championship, you need a sprinkle of luck, right? Because yes, the Cleveland Cavaliers were the number one team, but it's all about also when you're clicking. And clearly they clicked way too early in the season, and you need to be clicking by the playoffs because like I feel like during their series with the Bucks, that's when kind of the wheel started turning for the Pacers, and now they're just like in a groove.
And I also think what motivated them too, I think Tyrese Halliburton had a really good series, especially after this announcement of him being the most overrated player voted amongst his peers, right? So it's just like, how y'all gonna say I'm overrated, but look at where I'm rated right now. Like, I'm out here doing it big. We're in the semifinals, right? Like, we are doing it big. We are on the roll. We are on the move. I think I was stunned. Like I said, I love Darius Garland, so I would have loved to see him progress farther. But like Indiana Pacers, I am.
And also, I feel like because of his father's situation too, a little bit like now, I feel like anytime your family is involved, you are going to feel a little bit like, my dad was rooting so hard for me, so hard to the point that now he can't even watch me play. You know what I mean? So,
right. And so the next thing we're also going to talk about, if you also know, Rebecca is a Golden State Warriors fan. I love Stephen Curry down. I think Draymond Green is the female version of, I think I'm the female version of Draymond Green, right? And they were bounced out of the whole entire playoffs. Now, let's preface this by saying Stephen Curry is injured with a hamstring injury. And basically, my whole thing is, well, let me preface this by saying congratulations to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are on to the semifinals as well now. They are waiting to see who is going to be the winner of who are they going to play again? I'm getting my West and East.
The Nuggets or OKC.
Okay, yes. So they're waiting for the Nuggets or OKC, and right now that series is tied 3-3. Okay, which is crazy. So they're about to go into a game 7, I believe, on Sunday at 3:30. Right. So I've been seeing people have this conversation right over after the Warriors have lost, right? And my whole thing is, I remember when they got Jimmy Butler. And as you could tell, I wasn't happy about it because I didn't know what the dynamic was going to be like between Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green. So I was looking at it very sideways. Now, I saw as the season progressed, I'm like, okay, like he's getting like, okay, their relationship isn't going to cause any problems like as of right now and stuff like that. So I let him live. I still didn't really care for him to be there, but okay, as he helped us sometimes with wins, I appreciated that because Stephen Curry needs a number 2, right? And during the playoffs, after they got into the second round and Stephen Curry literally got injured in the first game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, I was like, all right, everybody keep talking about playoff Jimmy. And I remember last year and 2 years ago, I seen how Jimmy Butler has played in the playoffs. I'm like, okay, he do his big one. Like he did it. Like, wow. Like he literally can carry a team. In these playoffs, I feel like he was non-existent. So the Warriors, their offense typically runs through Stephen Curry because, he creates a lot of open looks for a lot of guys on the court because he's just that great when it comes to shooting and scoring and things like that. But my whole thing is, I feel like Jimmy Butler was non-existent. So there was no direct person that they could run the offense through, right? And I want to preface this by saying that Jimmy Butler is injured. So that probably has something to do with how effective he could be or whatever like that. But I feel like even before that, in the first round of the playoffs, I didn't think that he really did much for me either. Right. And so another thing I have to say is Steve Kerr has done very great with the Warriors. But my whole thing is, what are you doing with Kuminga? Right? You have someone who's energetic, who can keep up with the Timberwolves, because you got to remember, Jimmy Butler is getting older, Stephen Curry is getting older, Draymond Green is getting older. You have 3 older players right there. Why not put Kuminga on the floor who can keep up with them, who can run the ball well with Mosey? I said Mosey. Moses Moody, I think that's his name. I forget his last name. But like, you have that type of player who could literally keep up, but you don't want to put them in there. When the Warriors have went on their championship runs and when they have seen success, they have always had a tall big in that position. They had Zaza Pachulia. You had Andrew Bogut. It's like you always have that big player. And I feel like every year I see the Warriors keep progressing and they refuse to go get a big. I don't know what it is. I don't know what y'all allergic to. I don't understand. I'm stressed.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if they're not gonna allow or give room or space for Kuminga to grow, then they need to trade him and get a big. And that's that on that. It may be time to, separate from Draymond, although I don't know if that would ever happen. But like, something's gonna have to give. If you want a big, you're gonna have to let some things go. Another point that I want to mention, because we're way above time, but I also want to mention Jayson Tatum. Unfortunately, he's out for the rest of the playoffs. He ruptured his right Achilles tendon during game 4 of the Eastern Conference semifinals on May 12th. Tatum has already had surgery in New York, and he's on his way to recovery today, Friday. Celtics and Knicks again play. This is game 6, correct? Are you on mute?
I thought you were looking at me. Sorry. Yes.
Okay, so Friday tonight, game 6. The Knicks are leading. So if they win today, they move on to the finals and could face the Pacers. But if not, then we go back to Boston, game 7. And
let me just say this right now, right? Because like we've talked about in the past, Sheyla is a Celtics fan. I am a Knicks fan. My Knicks, you cannot go back to Boston. Y'all need to win today.
There you go. I want to talk about the WNBA season. It starts today. Super exciting. I know I've been talking about it a lot. And if you look at my shirt, 2024 WNBA, New York Liberty champions. Yeah, see it. So the reason why I'm rocking this is because on Saturday, it will be the opening game day for the New York Liberty, but it also will be ring day. They're going to get their championship ring. The banner will be raised. And a reminder, this is the first championship the New York Liberty has won. And they're one of the, the core franchises of the WNBA. So it has been a long time coming. And I feel like New York as a whole, when it comes to basketball, they haven't had like a championship in a very long time, right? So the women are holding it down. So I'm super proud. I won't be at the game, but I will for sure be watching. I'm proud of the girls. Unfortunately, my fave, Benija Laney, will not be playing with the Liberty this season, but she will be a part of, the ceremony when they do get their rings. And I'm super happy. And, I feel like I didn't grow up watching sports, but now that I'm older and I watch a lot of sports, I really do enjoy the community that it builds. When I went to see the parade happening, there were so many people. And honestly, I feel like when you watch sports or if you go watch a game, those are things that you can do solo and you will eventually meet friends and create a community. So I love that about sports, and I can't wait to see their ring. I know it's about to be real cute.
Yes. Also, I want to mention a few things before we end out for the day or whatever.
I wanted to say one last thing about the WNBA.
Oh, go ahead, girl.
So now that the season has begun, that means that rosters have already been settled, but that has been a very problematic thing because roster spots in the WNBA are very small, honey. Like there's literally all the fat is trimmed. Okay, so the final rosters are out, and social media has been buzzing about the egregious cuts that were made. WNBA teams can have a roster of 12 players, but some may choose to carry 11. And just for a comparison, there are 156 roster spots total in the WNBA. In the 2024-25 NBA season, there were 550 players in the league. So remember, WNBA 156, NBA 550. But the reason why it's so little and not little, but it's so tight knit is because the WNBA only has 13 teams, 12 players per team. Meanwhile, the NBA has 30 teams in total. So a lot of people have been upset with roster cuts, but I feel like until there are enough teams, cuts are going to have to be made. Some of the cuts were egregious, especially the new team, which is the Valkyries, which is the equivalent of like what the Golden State Warriors, the Valkyries are the WNBA team for the Golden State area. And they drafted 2 players this season. They drafted Cheyenne Sellers and Caitlin Chen, and they waived Cheyenne Sellers before a preseason game, which was like, what? And then they waived the second person they drafted, and it's like, girl, why you drafted people that you wasn't even gonna allow to play? But anyway, all that to say is a very rough industry, but please support the WNBA because the more support, the more money, eyes, all the things, that is what is going to allow the WNBA to expand and have more roster spots for all of these talented women athletes.
Dag.
Rebecca does nothing with the WNBA.
First off, I go with you. That's all that matters. I support. We went to go see Benijah.
I think that's bare minimum now. But
anyway, so the NFL has released their schedule for the year, and there are a lot of games. So like this is just a quick like overview. Obviously, there's a bunch of different games. If you know who your team is, then you know what games to see, where to watch them, and everything like that. But these are the games that a lot of people are going to be watching for. So on week 2, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Eagles are about to play. And if you watch the Super Bowl, then you know that my Kansas City Chiefs let the Eagles win and ended up winning the championship. So now we're going to see week 2. I know the regular season doesn't mean much. Obviously, it does in terms of record and where you place and if you make it into the playoffs or anything like that. But it does not negate the fact that the Eagles have the championship and the Chiefs do not. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm excited to see how this NFL season goes. I know there's a lot of conversations that are happening in terms of rosters, in terms of quarterbacks, especially with draft picks, as we saw with, our boy, our cousin, right? You know who I'm talking about. And so I just think it's going to be interesting to see this season. And also I wanted to mention, we talked earlier about NJ transit strikes and everything like that. As Sheyla has mentioned, there is a lot happening in New York. So it's this Saturday it's happening, Sheyla?
Well, the Beyonce concert?
For the New York Liberty.
Oh, the New York Liberty. Yeah, it's on Saturday.
So on Saturday, we have the New York Liberty. We have the Subway Series that's currently happening in baseball between the Yankees and the Mets. That's happening from the 16th to the 18th. And then you also have the New York Knicks who are playing on Friday, which is today, at the Garden. And it's like, if you are from Jersey and you are trying to get into the city, I cannot emphasize anymore. You need to find alternate modes of transportation because you can't get there on the train. And there's a lot happening in the city, as we clearly see.
And that is why I think that they will have no choice but to come to an agreement because it is way too crucial for the city. So thank you guys so much for showing up and listening to us. If you made it this far, we appreciate you. This week, we want the Haitian flag in the comments, okay, for Haitian Flag Day. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and follow us on all our social media platforms. It's at Too Much SB. We love you guys, and we'll see you next Friday.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching this week.